Okay. We're good to go.
Then I will call this May 12th regular meeting of the Knox County Commission to order. We will start as we usually do with any commission updates. Does anybody have anything on the commission level they would like to share?
I hadn't thought about it. How do you do, but just start with Morgan first. Sorry.
How was your vacation?
A vacation,
Oh.
but, it was fine. It's not an update, but a question. The, Midcoast Council of Governments has a meeting in June 25th, I think. And I think it's a holiday event. And I just thought amongst the three of us, maybe one of us should plan to go, and didn't know if any of you, either of you were thinking about that or. I'm happy to go. I'm available that day. I'm happy to go if neither of you were.
What's the date?
I think it's 25th, June 25th. Let me double check. I put it in my calendar.
I'll be. Obligated.
Do you remember where it's gonna be held?
It didn't say, I don't think, but it is Thursday, June 25th. So, and I don't think we need to make a decision right now. But I just wanted to flag that.
Yeah, I believe they're serving lunch.
I'm sure they are. But don't hold me to that. It could be a BYOL.
Since the last meeting, I've attended both the ATAC airport meeting, the for the fire chiefs in May, and everything's going quite well in the county right now. I'm sure we're progressing well. I'm sure we can get a report from our airport manager here about what's going on. Back this year, we made a lot of progress on a lot of things, and the board is very happy with what's happening. That's what I've got.
That's good. Good. We are also members of the Coastal Communities Workforce Initiative. The woman who is the executive director for like the last 14 years has decided that she may need to retire. So we may be looking for somebody new, and there's a committee search going on there. They're the administrative group for a lot of federal funding for workforce training around the coastal communities, coastal counties. We also are in the process of starting to put together a committee through the County Commissioners Association to look at all of the state laws that look at counties, mostly on Title 30, which most counties are organized under Title 30. Some counties, like Knox, have a charter which incorporates some of the stuff that's in there. And just trying to see and sort of push us all into about the same way of operating. This may eventually also include things like jails, budget committees, officials. So we're going to start a whole search on that. I'm going to be on that committee. Yeah, you say great. I don't know. But
Thank you.
No, that's
you
great
for
because you're on the
clarifying.
committee and you're.
and that's about all we have.
And one other thing, the steering committee for Bridges is meeting this on May 15th at 10 a.m. in Wiscasset, and I think there's also a virtual option. I am the commission representative for this group, and I have a work conflict that day. I know Roger Peabody will be there. He was selected as another designee, and I think Bill Kluker may or may not be able to join virtually, but I cannot be there, so I didn't know if one of you would have an interest in attending that since I can't be there.
Which group is it again?
It's the Two Bridges, the jail authority steering committee.
It's the 15th, you say,
Yes,
which is a Friday?
yes, it's this Friday at 10 a.m.
Um,
Either in Wisconsin or
Well, might be able to, okay.
I will forward you the
Yeah.
invite.
Great, thank you. And if there's nothing else, then we will open up our public comment period. Is there anyone who would like to address the commission? Seeing as there's none, we'll move on to the agenda itself, which is the routine business, which includes the agenda, the department head reports, payroll and expense warrants, and reserve withdrawals. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing as there's none, I'll vote. All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Then the regular discussion items, which include the budget process, and we will turn to the county administrator for updates on the budget process.
Thank you. I think the masses have been made aware at this point. So we did send out the public notice to be posted immediately after our last budget meeting. I'm not sure when it happened, because this is my first time doing more administrative tasks down here, but somehow the timeline for when we need to get something to them and when they'll actually post it is more delayed than it was in the past. Therefore, they're not able to post it till May 14th, which means the soonest we can have our final joint budget meeting would be May 28th. So we have updated, I think the last group I have to update are our grantees, so mutual aid and McCog and all of those groups. But 3 out of 5 have already reached out about it, so that all went out, and just want to acknowledge, we know this has already been a delayed process. A lot of things out of our control, and really speaks to the importance of needing to look at our charter. Because a lot of this correspondence has to be done in circulating newspapers. I'm not sure how many people look at newspapers to see when a budget committee meeting is. So I think we really need to look at it. It hinders our ability to correspond and communicate effectively and timely when we have to mail all these things out to the islands or hand deliver them. So looking forward to that discussion, which has been slated for June. So we should have a pretty healthy discussion about the charter and what that subcommittee should look like at the next meeting.
Amber, I just want to mention on that note, I emailed you, and I don't know if you saw this, but I have an engagement on the 28th. So unfortunately, I'm really sorry that I not been able to be here for most of the budget process, aside from virtually. So sorry about that.
Should be, I mean, I think in our last meeting, we had a pretty healthy conversation. There didn't seem to be any need for further discussion. I think we answered a lot of the questions. A couple budget committee members have actually reached out to have some final meetings just to get a better understanding of what they're voting on, which I think is great. So I don't see it as this long drawn out meeting, but I won't say that out loud. So I think that's fine, and a couple of our managers are actually gonna be away as well, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
I went to both of the chairs first, just to make sure we could get the budget committee, because that's a super important part, not that you all are not, but you've been involved in this conversation a lot more than that vote, so. Trying to think of anything else budget wise. Just all the exciting things we have for 27, which we'll start to just speak about in the next couple of months. We did a tax calculator for all of the towns, so they'll kind of know how much their taxes are increasing on their tax bill year to year. It's gonna be an average, but we went with median home value and all of that, so that's coming. We're doing a big hub, so like our visual budget, but built out more, tells our story. And really start to share some of the programs that we have here at the county, less of, obviously, we're not changing the structure of our budget anytime soon, but what does the sheriff's office provide for us? What does probate provide for us? So trying to just educate in that way, more of a more positive user experience. I think a lot of times we talk in an internal kind of correspondence, if that makes sense, and that makes sense to us, but doesn't necessarily digest well to the public of what we're doing and why we're doing it. So we're trying to get creative with those tools. So I'm looking forward to that, and obviously working closely with our GIS manager to do all that.
Saw a report today that Rockport and changes they're looking for is made a comment that they're gonna move to putting together a visual budget. Much like, because they like the way it works for the county,
Yes,
and I thought that was a real high compliment.
I think it's out. So if you have a chance, check it out. Rockport and Unions, I think, are out, their visual budgets. And there are 3 other towns that couldn't make it due to the or fiscal year, but they'll be coming as well, so.
And they were working with our GIS.
Yes,
Great.
yes, yes. As soon as this went out, we had five towns reach out to her almost immediately.
That's
So,
great.
Yeah, really exciting. And she's gonna use that to tie everything together, right? What is the county and the town relationship and how does that work? Yeah.
When does the 27 budget, when do we gonna start talking about that?
We will probably start meeting, my goal is probably like end of June, we're gonna start talking about when those meetings should happen, we've gotta meet with all department managers, we've got a lot of feedback from this year that we need to look at, so I anticipate Kathy and I will start meeting pretty soon, then go through departments, and then to you all, and I'm hoping to squeeze in a quarterly, I know it's kind of an awkward year, but just some sort of before we get rolling with all of the meetings, have a check-in with the budget committee again before we start taking drugs.
I think to have a pulse on a number that's more September, as far as the earliest. Not that the work won't begin, but as far as pulling it together and looking at something that's realistic, maybe is the word.
I also heard, I think the administrator told me that we went through the audit quite successfully.
Yes.
They were very complimentary about
Yes,
process compared to perhaps other places.
yes,
So
yes.
that's kudos to you, Kathy. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
And I'm hoping that we will get the final information, middle of June, which takes some additional work on finances, our part. But then the finalized report should be in July. That then would be available for publication to the commission, to the public.
And then, something that the counties and I think the towns, I think Maine Municipal may be working with this too, is that whole way of notifying people about budgets. And trying to make it more modern so that we're no longer tied to newspapers, that there may be ways of doing the same thing electronically. I don't know where it stands, but every year somebody proposes something.
Yes.
And I don't know where it stands at the moment, I don't think anything's passed, but
Yeah.
it's something that everybody's aware of.
Just going through this process in particular, everything was, okay, well, then you need to mail that, and if you make a mistake, you need to mail it again, so it's just a lot of, and I know these towns don't want mail, they just want an email, so. The corrections transition, and thank you, Commissioner Hein, that's what I was gonna update on, we are meeting this Friday, I will be there as well, because I was going Trailblazer. Down in Wiscasset, so really looking forward to this, I know the Lincoln County Administrator will be there, and she's been a huge part of this. I also think there's another side meeting after the steering meeting to just talk about Knox and Saginaw and Lincoln related items, so. Love the makeup of this group, I think it's gonna be a really positive thing and something that's obviously gonna be a work in progress to make sure we have equitable representation and all of that good stuff. But outside of all of that, I think everything still is continuously going well. The election upcoming is gonna be a big point of how we'll move forward and all of that, so that's gonna be our next kind of hurdle to get over to continue this forward motion. Which leads us to DDK and an easement discussion. So, Mr. Kelly is here. How are you?
Good, you stay here.
You can stay there or you can sit next to me, it's totally up to you. So Mr. Kelly and I met back in the beginning of this year, I believe, to discuss an agreement that we have with the county. So they own this yellow building right here, it's part of our parking lot. Years ago, I can't remember the exact year, I wanna say 2004, yes. There were 2 easements filed. One to provide parking spaces for DDK, one for DDK to provide parking spaces to the county. I obviously haven't had this role for very long, but I do know there's been a lot of conversations about this over the years, especially in recent years about what does that look like? And so I did a little bit more digging, with our registered deeds earlier this year, and also with legal from Perkins Thompson. And ultimately, the 2 easements look like they could be a bit conflicting. It looks like they were filed on or around the same time, but could have been one party was filing and the other party was doing the same thing. So we're not entirely sure what the intention of either of these are. The language is a little different in each. The reason this is getting brought up to both of you is DDK is also part of our landscape and plow contract. So any portion of that has to touch any of those spaces, they're responsible for paying. And in past years, it hasn't been communicated to them in the most effective way what that cost would be, how they're responsible for it, et cetera, et cetera. So Mr. Kelly and I had a lovely meeting, again, earlier this year, and what I want to recommend, just kind of to move forward from this, is just to do a needs assessment. I know I'm working with Jim Hagan on how many parking spots we need back here, how many of them need to be public. I know your needs have changed slightly, so just looking at what we both need as far as parking spots, where it makes the most sense to have those, and then if necessary, go into a new easement agreement. But if you want to fill in anything that I missed or left out, please feel free.
That was a great summary. I have spoken to past county executives, and we've seen from time to time that this seems to be mixed up. Back in 2016, we got a new bill where they found that second easement and just increased the percentage that we have to pay. And for probably 10 years before that, we thought we had something that seemed fair and balanced. And so Andrew Hart, I think was the county manager at that time, and he said, well, bring a proposal. He could see that it wasn't there. And he said, let's bring a proposal. And things got, I guess we all got busy. In the meantime, the county has negotiated and renegotiated with different landscapers, and the rate has skyrocketed, as you probably know. We have no say in that negotiation. We just get billed a percentage. And I want to say that I met with Amber. I felt really heard. I think that she's really taking a very proactive approach to this, and I feel well heard. And so I like your proposal that we would look at it fresh. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you for coming and confirming that plan works for you.
I will say, I apologize that the contract went up so much. It hit us also. I mean, that was the big surprise as we went out to bid and go to everybody that was possible. That was really the only one that made sense. And unfortunately, you know, between us and the budget committee, we all were shocked though. And we're sorry to have passed it on, but not passed it on as part of the process while it was going on. Obviously, we should have done it. I don't think that any of us were really aware of the nature of that we were also plowing, or they would also be plowing or maintaining your section too. So I apologize for that, David.
Thank you. It seems like we all want to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Do better. Thank you.
And I hope that as we move forward, that, you know, we can work with Amber and we can come up with something that everybody's happy with.
Sure we can.
Thank you.
So just while we're all here, so everybody's on the same page, I did speak with the city of Rockland already, and we're in compliance as far as parking spots and all that for here. I do need to confirm with the state, because we are a courthouse in the state, so I have to check that. Then once I do that, I'll probably reach out so we can schedule a meeting with myself and our maintenance director. And then we can go meet.
Great.
Perfect. So if that sounds all right to everybody.
No.
Thank you. Towing for law enforcement and dispatch. Okay. And there's a lot in here about this, so I'm gonna keep it high level. Thank you. I met with the communications director, the sheriff, possibly the chief deputy at some point about this, and did a little bit of my own research. So we've received a couple of concerns, complaints from citizens in towns of just inequitable use of our records or our tow companies. As I looked into this, I realized that we have no system at all for doing this. So we call whoever we want, whoever's on at that time. It's not a good process. We don't have contracts with any of these individuals, so we don't know if they have insurance. They're sometimes towing or touching evidence, depending on what that scene looks like. We don't have an out if they do something wrong, or if they don't show up for the 5th time, we're still tied to having to have them in a rotation. Which brings me to the last piece, we don't have a rotation. So in order to get law enforcement, not just Knox County, but everybody, as well as our dispatch center who actually does the request, on the same page, I'd like to propose, and I'm not exactly sure how it would work yet, but having contracts with all of these wrecking and tow companies. Rockland does have a rotating list. I believe they have 3 that they use, and so they just rotate them, and if they don't answer, they go to the next one, and that's their agreement with their tow companies. This was discussed at the Friday, May 8th executive board meeting. Everybody in that room at the time felt like it was a really, really positive idea. They would like to compile lists from their towns of wreckers and tow companies that they like to use, which I think is great. But this is a county service, so we're gonna have to do our own list and do a comprehensive list, probably create agreements with all of these parties. They'd probably be ongoing. And again, it gives us an out, ensures that they have the right insurance, ensures that they have a secure lot for our evidence, so people aren't, so a lot of really good things. I'll be honest, I haven't done enough research to know if we need this as a bidding process or if it's just open and whoever wants to be a part of that rotation for that town or that region, I'll call it. I think St. George and Friendship will probably share some resources, things like that. So wanted to get your thoughts on moving forward, if that sounds palatable to all of you, or if you had any other recommendations.
I think it's essential to have more structure, especially for the legal ramifications of what we need to do. Do you have a sample contract? Does Rockland have a contract? Do you have something you can work with?
Rockland,
to start with?
I don't. We had meetings with 3 tow companies. They do have some type of, they have to be there within a certain period of time, if they don't. We could get contracts with other entities.
I think that's important.
Then we could get sample ones, tailor it towards.
Is it really a contract? We started out with the concept of a request for qualifications. That if they can meet these qualifications, we will put them into the rotation. The contract implies, that we're paying something or they're paying something. And I think we just want to make sure that whatever we do is they meet those qualifications.
Yeah.
And then whatever the rotation is based geographically on who can respond in the quickest amount of time. So it becomes fairly complicated because the ones that can respond in Rockland aren't going to be the ones that can respond in Friendship, and aren't going to be the ones who can respond in Union. But make sure whoever they are also meets those qualifications that you laid out.
And I don't think we necessarily need a bidding process. It's going to be a general contract for all of them.
Yeah.
And we'll come up with the certain guidelines that we would want. For instance, they may have to have a response time. If we have a vehicle that's partially in the roadway that's causing a traffic hazard, we may need a quicker response time than we would just a normal vehicle off the shoulder, not causing an issue. So there are things like that we need to take into account. Also, we sometimes have the vehicle owner request their own towing company, so we need to have language in that area as far as if the person is requesting a particular towing company. We have generally worked on, in the past, who is the closest available. You may hear that over the police radio sometimes. The deputies or police departments are requesting the closest available record. And then dispatch would look through their records to see who the closest available record service is. So I don't think
I
it's.
have a question about that.
Yeah.
Does the owner pay for the towing service in the end result?
Yes.
Okay, so if, for instance, they have a AAA membership and they want to have a AAA record come so that they don't have to pay out of their pocket, do we make allowances for that?
We do, but it gets back to, is it causing a traffic hazard?
Right.
So if someone says, we have a AAA record coming from Winterport to Friendship, and the vehicle is blocking the roadway,
Okay,
normally we would probably say, no, we're gonna have to get the closest available. But again, if the vehicle's off on the shoulder and it's not causing a traffic hazard, by all means, maybe we could.
I just want to make sure that because towing charges can be rather substantial. I just want to make sure if somebody's made their own preparations, if it's possible, we make allowances, as long as it's not a criminal situation, just an accidental situation.
I like the idea of having sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sure.
I was just gonna say the qualifications, and then I don't know if it's even an SOP or a policy that we have to say, you do this, you're out, you do this, you're out, so they're adhering to our policy, so we can get into a legal.
That was gonna be my question, is do we need a specific internal policy for this? Yeah.
Well, there's agencies that I've worked with before in the past, they have contracts where whatever record companies participate in the program, they present $1 million rider showing they've got the insurance. And then they have a contract stating that if you can't respond, 6 out of 10 times, I don't know what the actual verbiage is. Or if you can't make it to the scene within 45 minutes, obviously there's gonna be some mitigating things there that cause them not to be able to. But if it's always we're 2 hours out, or they get bumped from the rotation, it's not up to dispatch to maintain that information, it'll be up to the sheriff's department to do that. Locality is obviously a big issue because, like you said, the Friendship actually started some of this because somebody from out of county got called because of proximity to a fatal that we had had. And it just started the whole ball rolling. But I've actually reached out to the chief of one of the police departments that I used to dispatch for in Alaska and the deputy chief of another one, and because they do it on a very regular basis, to give us some idea on at least templates that these guys can use. And then when it comes to us choosing who, the CAD makes it very easy. We have what's called a record log in the CAD, and we just annotate who requests it, the vehicle that's going to. It tells us who's next available. If they're not available, we annotate a reason why. We move on to the next one. We can have an SO requested list. We can have a next available for, like, if you were involved in an accident, you're like, I want a record, I don't care who comes. It would just be the next available for whatever. Or we can also put in there and have a list, we have it now actually for Rockland, where if somebody has a specific record company they want, we can annotate that. That way we can go back 2 months later and say, oh, this vehicle went to that record. Person who was driving it requested it, or the deputy on scene requested it, or whatever, so.
But it is clear to know there's a couple times that we would be requesting it. To your point, Mark, if it's a criminal matter,
Right.
if it was a drunk driving arrest and the vehicle has to be towed.
That's a
Or-
different situation.
Or if the vehicle is causing a traffic hazard. So now we have a time sensitive issue to get a record there as quickly as possible.
I think we all agree there needs to be a policy, there needs to be contracts or qualifications. I think you all know better than we do how to do it. So, yes, I think like most policies, when it comes back to us, you know, we have to approve it, but I think, we'd be wise to leave it to you to figure it out.
The only other thing I would add is that this feels like an important communication moment with all of the companies, just to be really clear about, you know, why we need certain companies for certain situations and others don't meet those requirements, and, you know, just making it really crystal clear that this is not about favoritism, this is about need. There are just some requirements.
Thankfully, in years past, probably going back 20 years ago, we used to have at least a dozen or more towing companies. It could be very confusing. I don't know the exact number we have now, but it is much less. It's probably, what would you say, Captain, below 6 maybe of actual companies that are available. So it's really reduced over the years, so there's not that many left to use, so.
Don't think that they have to necessarily be a Knox County business either. You know, if they're, because our county line is out here, and it may be easier for somebody from the other side, from the enemy counties, to come in here and, service.
To your point, there are towing companies in Belfast, Sears Monument, this Waldeboro has a towing company. So to your point, yes, there are.
And I absolutely agree with the chief deputy. I have a friend who has a garage that used to do towing. And he hasn't done it in 10, 15 years. And he gets calls every day. I've been in his garage when he says, hold on, no, I don't do towing anymore. Because there are people desperately looking, so there's not a lot of places to go, so hopefully we can make some priority then.
Just need to get some samples and then we can tailor it to how we feel needs to be tailored to.
How often do you need security for the cars that are?
Not that often. Most recent case here in Rockland, they had unfortunately a bus accident. That bus had to be placed in the impound area. We do have an impound area that we can use at the jail. It's a locked area, fenced in, so we do
So
have
you-
a lot that we
You can have something towed there if need be, so you don't
Yes.
have to have the towing agency have their own.
correct.
Okay.
And then we don't have to pay storage, and the potential owner vehicle doesn't have to pay 3, 6 months, 9 months worth of storage fees. So,
Okay, letter E, courthouse security. As you know, we have judges upstairs, courtrooms upstairs, so US Marshals sit out front and screen, supposed to be everybody that comes in this building. I don't know when US Marshals got here, I'm not 100% clear on the timeline, I know there's been a lot of, you know, at one point you just came into the courthouse, and then the marshals came, and then this back door started being used more. Since I've started, there has been a few issues with wandering persons, I'll call them, people being unescorted, people that shouldn't be down here, people that shouldn't be upstairs in the courtrooms. We do a lot of interviews back here, we do a lot of public meetings, and we just unlock that door and let people come through. This still is a courthouse, still has a lot of important things going on, even though we don't see them down in our basement. So I've been talking with the US Marshals a bit, I've been talking with our IT director, and I've been talking with Jim Hagan Facilities, just about what makes the most sense. Obviously, we have a lot of vendors that come through here, and we wanna, you know, are they gonna be carrying their whole lives when they're coming down to this garage through security? Does that make sense? So my happy medium is if you have a contract or an employee, you're okay, meaning like Siemens we have contracts with, they've been vetted, they have the right insurance, they have what they need to be on site. if we're having an oral board interviews and we're interviewing 3 people, they need to go through security. We don't know who those people are. This is gonna become a little bit painful and tedious for when we have public commission meetings. Budget meeting, right, where we want a lot of public to come. It's not the US Marshal's job to escort people down here or tell them where to go. That's absolutely not in their job description. So another thing we're trying to figure out is when you come through there, it's very difficult to get down here if you don't know the building. So it spirals into a bunch of other conversations, you know, do we need to look at getting public offices out of the basement so they're more accessible? So just, it's sparking a bigger conversation, but wanted again, just to get your thoughts, because I think we will be making some changes on being escorted and not utilizing the store as much in the next few weeks. So if there's any pushback, comments, questions, ideas, would love to hear them. Yes.
I have to admit, I was surprised during the last budget meeting, when I come and I get my card out to access, and then somebody would just, go ahead and open the doors were unlocked. And I was sort of surprised at that. And for the year that I came before I became a member of the commission, I came in upstairs, and it didn't take me long. It took me one time to figure out where to go. It's not that. And if we have somebody on a budget committee that can't find their way down here, then I'm worried about them being on the budget.
Okay, fair enough.
So, you know, I understand their job is safety, and it seems like it's innocent to leave doors open, stuff like that, but you know, we have to err on the side of caution, especially these days in the world we live in.
Exactly, things are changing. The difficult part about evening meetings, which might be another conversation, is there is nobody at the front, so it's completely locked. So you have to go through some door, and I don't know if that means, you know, do we do a detail with the SO to have that? That seems extreme, but I can't remember who I had the conversation with, but it's safety or convenience, right? And I think safety has got to come first 100% of the time. So we are gonna inconvenience a lot of people. We'll work on having maps or whatever's handy for when you get up there to get where you need to go, but.
Is there some way, we have no bell or anything to let people know, people have to knock on the door. So we may have to have some sort of system where people can say, I'm here, and somebody will have to let them in that knows them.
But even then, they're not screened, so even then they could bring in a weapon without us knowing, right?
It's true.
Do we need to look into like security equipment for this entrance? I mean, I know it sounds expensive, I'm sure it is, but
Well, I think with our access control project, I mean, depending on how this goes, we can just ensure that that's complying with the changes that we wanna make. If we're really not letting people down here, we'll ensure that. I mean, I think I'd probably say the same employees are the only people that can come down here right now, but.
I think the biggest change that we're looking to is to try to use the process where obviously there's a kind of a risk that can be had when people come to that back door, and you have to open the door to speak to them. Obviously, it's a smaller use case, but they're not a use case, rather a smaller likelihood, but it's entirely possible that if someone truly was looking to do, if you will, they could, you know, push past, force them away kind of thing. With this access control project, we're looking to do, we plan to add a one-way video intercom system that would allow remotely speaking people, telling them either go up front, be screened, or if they were someone who's a vendor allowed in, they could remotely. So.
what about in the circumstance of the evening meeting where we don't have security? I guess that's what I was thinking of, and that's the potential detail, but at the same time, you know, like a metal detector or something like that, is that something that we need to think about for
The tricky part is the meetings, they're a public meeting, you could really have anybody show up.
Yeah,
You
right.
don't even have to be a resident of this
Yeah.
county to come to a public meeting, so if it's a issue that has generated a lot of interest, just if you had 100 people show up, not that that's probably likely, but it could happen. So now you have, if it's a public meeting, that's where it gets tricky, because it is open to the public.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other option is that we just schedule.
It seems like there's a couple of different things. the people who are wandering around aimlessly down here, who've already been up through the security up there, aren't really a problem. Because they've already gone through that security. Yes, they're wandering down here, but they've already cleared through metal detectors and everything.
Sure.
It's the people down here who are worried about coming in and going upstairs. It seems like what we could do is do a second set of doors that are locked. You know, the door going up the stairs and the door going into the other room, so that that keeps this as a public area.
Yep.
Yes, you need to get your card to get in here, or somebody needs to let you in, but you can't go the next step, which is go to the, up to the courthouse, unless you cleared something down here. You know, because I think we do wanna keep this as a relatively public area, and we are gonna have meetings in the evening, because if we don't have meetings in the evening, then public can attend. And the budget committee can't be meeting at 10 o'clock, it's hard enough to get people now. So it seems like creating a little bubble of our own here might make a certain amount of sense, so that that is a more hardened space up there than what we have down here.
And as concerned as I am about security, go back to, you know, this, you know, at the town office in Camden, when we had public meetings, sometimes we had 100 people trying. There's no security there.
Yeah.
You know, trusting, and it's tough to be trusting in a world that's tougher. So some sort of medium world has to be found, but
How much do you, that's a public debate, how much security do you have? How much concrete security do you have? That's the debate, and keep it welcoming and open meeting with most to be able to
it's
Yeah,
true, but
it's like
I've observed that
balance.
more anger and hostility to each other than I noticed in previous years. It's unfortunate, but I've seen the world sort of shift in that direction, so we have to be careful of some sort without being too restricting.
And to someone's point I mentioned earlier, it is unfortunately, we've reached the point where it is commonplace at school board meetings, city council meetings, county meetings, to have a law enforcement presence at those meetings. And I'm not suggesting we should or shouldn't, but it is becoming more common to have law enforcement at public meetings.
Yeah, we do appreciate that you come to almost all of these.
Yes.
And yes, but, you know, maybe we should have more meetings where we're doing something terrible to the sheriff's office, because then you bring everybody.
I've never felt safe as I did when I walked into the state house, surrounded with the sheriff and the chief deputy and the captain of patrol. I felt like, wow, I've got like security crew leading me in here, so it does make you feel a little bit safer. Yeah.
So yes, I think we all agree it's appropriate to look at this and figure out something.
Find the happy medium.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you ever take a tour of this building one day, which I highly encourage, like a full tour, there are millions of places to hide out. I mean, it's,
Well, geez.
it's an insane building, yes. But it's an, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a,
well, and you know, one other thing is, it is an issue. People coming in and wandering around, even if they can't access down here, because we've had issues upstairs. And those are people who have been vetted, but it doesn't make them any less threatening, so. Yeah, this is the top priority.
okay, F. So I met with let me get his name right, sorry. Jeremy Gray, he oversees all the courthouses in the state of Maine. He is trying to be very proactive, which we've been trying to do with the state for some time, in ensuring that we're taking care of this building. So we had a lot of really good conversations about the roof and how they can help, hopefully fund some of that, even working with our grant. We also had a really big conversation about the, overall capital planning for this building. So it's a historic building, we wanna take care of it, the state plans to be here for a very, very long time, obviously we do, so we're hoping, and I don't know if it'll come in the 27 conversation or hopefully throughout 28, but I'm hoping to have, and I don't know how it'll work exactly yet, Kathy, but some sort of shared agreement reserve line, and reserve line isn't the right word, but capital improvement for the courthouse. So that the state is agreeable to funding 40% of whatever that line is, and we're agreeable, whatever it comes out to, but have that agreement in writing and start planning for 28, 29, 30. With them in an agreement so that we are sure that we have that. So again, overall, really big conversation, really great conversation, got a lot of updates on just things going on in the building. Jim's doing a phenomenal job staying on top of all of that. And also kind of spark some of the courthouse security discussion. So just wanted to update you on that. I think you have all the updates in your administrative summary, so that's just basically what we talked about. Okay. Not on the agenda, I also wanted to give kudos to Kathy and the audit. It did go seamlessly. We are the only county that they have. Everything Kathy does is amazing. High praise. We are very lucky to have her, and the whole finance team. And just really grateful. So thank you. Very grateful.
You make our jobs a lot easier, Kathy.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I don't think we do much to make yours easier.
I know.
We do appreciate it and make ours easier.
All part of the job.
As Captain Smith pointed out to me earlier, which I guess we're all aware of, but it's nice to say, we are fully staffed in corrections, we are fully staffed in communications, and we are fully staffed in patrol. And actually, I think countywide except for this, but that's
Yes.
aside, we are fully staffed, which huge.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think when I came, we were about 50% on almost all those big departments. I know Chair Glazer remembers very well, so we've come a long way, and just want to note that people do want to work here again. I know that was one of the big goals that you all had, so it's really great to see. We also had a department manager meeting a couple hours ago. Always great discussion in that meeting, but a big thing that we're lacking is some sort of external newsletter, communications person, PR person. Commissioner Ratner and I have talked about this quite a bit. I'm gonna explore a little bit what that could look like without a huge budgetary impact. But I do think there's a lot of stuff happening that we need to be getting out, and none of us have the capacity to do it. I'm hoping the new administrative assistant may be able to take some of that, but there still needs to be some cohesion, if you will, and that's kind of what Commissioner Ratner and I talked about. Instead of having each department send out their own message in different language and different jargon, if you will, just having a unified. Yeah, and we've tried many times, but hoping we're coming to a point where we can make it happen. That's all I have.
A lot, thank you. Yeah, no, don't be sorry, it's great work, everything.
Action items. An act to approve the Knox County earned paid leave policy.
So moved.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
good to have.
It's in your packet. Maybe it's that one, yep. And this is really just to comply with the state law, basically.
Yes,
And the changes are just the
there was a
wording to change to meet the state law.
Yes, I can't remember, end of last year, beginning of this year, a small update came, which removed the cap on accruals. So that's basically all you're seeing. They just want to make sure that if you're a new employee in Maine, essentially you have some sort of bank of time. Because every employer has a different policy on when you can use that, so.
And they changed 2 other small rules. Don't have a big impact either one, but we still need to
Right. And
implement.
for the most part, this is done through the company that we've hired to deal with this. Is that?
No, this is actually tracked through finance,
Oh,
because we do have to maintain a separate tracking that if the state requested that, and it's a very detailed tracking of people's time. But as far as the employees, we're much more generous with their accrued time than what we're required to do by the state. So really the labor intensive components is the tracking piece to make sure that we're complying.
Any further discussion?
I mean, and this is a question that, and I'll ask it about all three of these policies. Are these? It looks like they're just all small changes across all three.
Yep.
Are these things that needed to be vetted by our attorney just to make sure, or do you feel like we're?
I don't believe so. Especially our mains earned paid leave law, that was a small change.
Yeah.
We've had our personnel policy looked at by legal a few times in the past, so what you're seeing here is just our changes.
In the paid family medical leave, which is one, that's just coming into effect
Right.
May 1st. So that language is directly pulled from what we're required to do.
Okay,
Similar to FMLA, that there's state and there's federal FMLA, and it dictates what we do and how we do it. There's very little way of decision-making in either one of those, and they're just very wordy.
yeah, I noticed.
So we're really gonna clean up.
Yeah, and that, I mean, I think that's why that I was asking that question, because I was reading it and glazing over, especially the Family Medical Leave Act, and thinking like, I need an attorney to tell me if this is okay.
Well, I think about the HR, our consultant right now helping us with that, or the employee that is trying to understand the
Yeah,
benefit that's available to
well,
them.
I've been.
It's a lot. Yes, it is, and it's, we want to always give our employees as much information as possible so that they're armed with that, but it's also very hard to decipher if that's not your full text.
Yes,
Even when it is, it's
Yeah.
very.
yes,
And then you add in the paid family medical leave, which is another layer, which is a great benefit, but it has one path and FMLA has another. They cross over in many cases with different rules.
but you feel good about where we are with these, I guess, when we get there, I'll bring up another.
This is just for the, unpaid leave. Any further discussion? Seeing as none, all those in favor? In favor, those opposed. The next one is an act to approve the Knox County Maine Paid Family Leave Act policy.
So.
Second.
Being moved and seconded, discussion. Seeing as there's none, all those in favor? Three in favor, none opposed. The next one is an act to approve the Knox County Family Medical Leave Act.
So-
Second. Been moved and seconded. Is this the one you wanted to discuss?
One, but I think it had been rectified in the paper copy, the digital copy that we had read, there was maybe a couple of words missing.
Oh, okay.
I forget what page it was. I think it is page 3, that this one starts with human resources may. I think human resources wasn't added in the digital copy that we saw, so it just started with may. Gotcha. So this looks like this is good to go. Okay.
And I'll just note, the Family and Medical Leave Act policy, this is from our personnel policies. As you can see, this does not need to be, 15 pages long. So we're working on that. We're going through a policy cleanup. So this was just kind of a first attempt to clean up some of it right now, but I do anticipate this coming back in front of you in the near future when we have capacity to look at it again and really shorten it. I'm hoping to be similar to what you're seeing for the paid family medical leave. It should be short, sweet, and a lot of this is very repetitive. So we'll get there, but at least this is in line with our paid family medical leave. There's a lot of benefits and accruals and things employees can and can't do, so we had to really make sure we looked that neither policy was conflicting with each other, so it was clear to employees, so that's what you're seeing a lot of here. And oddly enough, someone just said, address to the county, well, I don't know what the county means, so we cleaned a lot of that up to say human resources, so that's why you see a lot of those changes.
Any other discussion? Seeing who's new, vote, all those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. And the next item, we're gonna skip over the, number D, if that's all right. Because I don't think we have a written thing at the moment. Which brings us to item number E, which is an act to approve and authorize the chair to execute an amendment to the concessionaire agreement between Knox County Budget and Budget Rent-A-Car System. What have a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Oh. Would you be willing to guide us through this?
Yeah, well, so this amendment will change the language that we have for the terms in this agreement. Right now, it just automatically renews by itself endlessly. Typically, you'd like to kind of have set dates that everybody actually takes the time to sit down and review these documents, which is where the other change comes in. This original agreement has been in place for 20 years. And at the time of this agreement, we said, okay, budget will pay, whatever percentage of their gross revenue up until they reach this amount of money, at which point in time they will then increase their sales percentage that they pay us to 10%. That was done way back in the day to give them time to grow their operations and get accustomed to, being here at the airport. They don't need that anymore. They're very, very successful. 10% is the industry standard for what a rental car service would be paying an airport. This just gets rid of that initial language and just is a flat 10% all year. It makes sense. It's the industry standard and it's going to save so much time trying to dictate, okay, 5% of this amount and 10% of this amount.
And they have no problem with it.
They did not raise any, the problem was getting them to respond to emails and getting them to sign the document and send it over to us. I don't know what the confusion was with that. I think they said they sent it to another airport. But from day one, they agreed to the 10%. It's the industry standard. It's what they pay at any other airport. So there was no fight in it. It was just an administrative nightmare of getting these people.
As for some other things, you're catching us up from the 18th century.
Yes, and this change will see, based on the 2025 numbers, just this change will see roughly $20,000 extra in revenue each year.
Great.
We like that.
I'd also like to add that the amount of money before they hit the threshold to increase was only 3 months out of the year. Not even, it was actually like 2.5, and then we'd have to do the math to determine where to cut off points. So for the vast majority of the year, they're already paying the 10%.
And what's when did it start?
It was dated on May 1st. There was an issue, we couldn't get in front of the commission when they sent this agreement, but it was such a nightmare to get them to actually send us over a signed copy that I don't want to go back to them again and ask them to sign another one with a different date. So if this agreement is approved, then we're just gonna start at May 1st, like the document says, and everybody's already on board with, doing that May 1st.
I was just thinking how it overlapped our budget year. Any other discussion?
No.
Thank you for that. All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. The next one is an act to approve and execute the agreement between Knox County and Vector Airport Systems LLC. Do I have a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
So Vector is a company that monitors the ADS-B system for aircraft. It's a satellite that tracks where aircraft are, something that is relatively new in the aviation world. It's in the recent years, aircraft were told that they had to install this in their aircraft for tracking purposes. So Vector monitors that and then bills the invoices that the airport would have to the aircraft that come in. So basically it allows us to track aircraft that are actually coming into our airport, so we know who was and was not here. The big agreement with this is the landing fees. Right now, if somebody comes into the airport and just happens to not use the FBO, or just comes in, goes and grabs a bite to eat in town, and then flies away before somebody can get to them, they're essentially skirting our landing fee policy. And it's improbable that we could really capture every, somebody comes in at 2 PM, yeah, we'll probably get them. If somebody comes in at 2 AM, there's no real way for us to do that. That alone is a red flag in the eyes of the FAA, and that's something that I've been trying to get rid of and get situated since I've been here. Vector is the solution to that. Yeah, so the agreement is going to cover, they would be covering our aircraft parking and our landing fees, and they would be helping us provide data for our based aircraft, so we actually know who is and is not based here. The other policies that follow this, I can give more of a rundown on how each of those policies will change and what the numbers would look like if you'd like, or I can just do it all in one moment.
I'm fine if you wanna keep going.
Sure. So the landing fees, right now it's based off of engine. Based off the size of the engine, what type of engine, and it's all handled by our FBO, Down East Air. Down East Air gets a small percentage of the landing fees. So we're relying on Down East Air to invoice every aircraft that comes into this airport, which is just not possible. It's improbable that they would capture it. They're only open so many hours a day. Also, on top of that, the FAA really doesn't like to do landing fee billing based off of engine type. They want it to be as fair and equitable as possible. Well, larger aircraft have a bigger impact on the airport. So because of that, we're switching over to a weight-based system, which is the preference. So aircraft below a certain weight are exempt from landing fees because they're not really impacting anything. Aircraft above a certain weight pay X amount of dollars per 1,000 pounds. Vector has that information with their ADS-B receiver that they'll be using, so they'll know which aircraft is coming in, how much that aircraft weighs. They already have the mailing information to where to send the invoice on, so we're not chasing down these shadow LLC companies to try to find the mailing address to invoice them. Most of these aircraft are already in their system, and they know that because they're doing this at other airports around the country. Also with the landing fees, with the update going to a weight-based system, we've now done a market research, to see what fair market value is. We're bringing those fees up to fair market value. So just that account alone is going to be a significant amount of revenue increase from us based on the numbers that we got in 2025, or based on the numbers or the aircraft that they already had in their system, knowing that they went to Knox County because they were already tracking other airports.
The APAC committee was enthusiastically in favor of this.
Yes, the APAC voted unanimously. The members that were present at the time of this meeting voted unanimously to support this.
Great. I mean, it makes sense. I'm assuming that the aircraft owners are used to this system from flying to other airports and are used to that basically payment scale or range.
Yes, so the bigger jets and other airports, actually, when I sent this agreement off to legal to review before we brought it to you, the response that I got was, oh yeah, I actually just got an invoice from you guys the other day because he happens to be a pilot as well.
Right.
Our program will still, we're doing our best not to impact the general aviation community, just the local pilots. So our landing fees for aircraft below 6,000 pounds would still be $0. But these larger jets are really who we're going after the more impactful. But yes, the businesses and the types of aircraft that would be built with this, I would say are familiar with it already. They already get these invoices from any other airport they go to, or rather, an increasing amount of airports are adopting this technology.
Makes sense.
I did have a question, but now it's gone. So,
You know,
I occasionally see the prices of private jets, reading and stuff. And if they have a problem with this, then their problems are way beyond, it's basically, they're not concerned.
Discussion, all those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Thank you, Jake. Next one we have is an act to approve an update to the Knox County Regional Airport Landing Fee Program. Oh,
Second.
second, you're still here.
Yeah, it's just a repeat of what I said before. This is the main bread and butter of what Vector is gonna be handling for us, and I believe we're gonna see the most significant increase in revenue. But in order for us to really get the most bang for our buck for using this Vector system, we have to fix the landing fee program, make it equitable, and make it easy for them to track. So this change is just the changing it to the weight-based structure as opposed to the engine type of structure that I mentioned earlier.
And APAC, I'm assuming, also likes this.
So when we discussed that, we discussed this option and showed the options of the rates with the landing fee in the APAC. Specifically, the APAC, as it was written on the agenda, was a vote to recommend the partnership between Airport and Vector, which this falls under that partnership. But we did not bring this specific language in front of them. It's just, I would say, kind of.
That was discussed and they were enthusiastically in favor.
Are these gonna be parking meters?
No.
No parking meter?
No partners. No, the maintenance team will install a ADSB receiver and then we collect the revenue. For landing fees, that's the extent of the labor that we're gonna be involved in.
I guess one question I do have, what percentage of planes at this point have it sounds like they have to have an account with Vector to be tracked.
Not necessarily, they would have to have an ADSB transponder, it's
Oh, okay,
automatic.
yeah. So this is kind of like in the shipping world, like AIS, it's tracking cargo jets and that.
So it's already implemented in aircraft, it's already a requirement. One could argue that, yeah, sure, they'll just cut their ADSB off before they land. But anytime they cut it back on, they're going to know that they came from Knox County, so there really isn't. This is in place because the pilots are not coming forth running,
Yeah.
to pay their invoices, you know what I mean? It's a way for us to track everybody, there really isn't a way around it.
No other discussion? All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. And the last item we have here is an act to approve and update to the Knox County Regional Airport Aircraft Parking Program.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded.
So again, this one is just a change in verbiage so that we can comply with Vector to allow for them to be able to do this. This one in particular, I haven't quite wrapped up the rates and fees analysis to see where we are compared to other airports. I think we are in the ballpark of this already. The only difference in fees that this program is gonna have at this time is just we've removed the discount that you get if you park for 7 days as opposed to, it's now gonna be a daily parking fee or a monthly parking fee. We're not doing 7 days anymore. That's to help us that's to better align us with how Vector bills. And we looked into it, and I think in 2025, we had four aircraft that use the $7 rate as opposed to a daily or monthly. It's just, if somebody's coming in, they're coming in for 2 or 3 days or an extended period of time. The odds of somebody coming in for less than, or somewhere between 7 and 14 days. Not super.
And so this is now gonna be billed based on the airplane's weight again? No.
This one is just a parking fee. So it's the type of aircraft. It's just the type of aircraft, maybe in the future I could look into see, if the weight base will align with this and if that's something to do. I mean, honestly, this is to get it to where we can align and we can start using Vector June first. But I fully intend on looking into these rates and this structure when I have the bandwidth to do that. And then seeing if we can make improvements from that onwards. But this just gets us rolling.
Anything else? If not, all those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Thank you, and once again, we do appreciate the attempt to make it equitable, but also bring in more money for the county airport. Thank you. Anything else? County administrator, have anything?
I was just gonna comment, we are skipping over letter D today. A, the budget has not been approved, so we're not gonna make any changes. B, you all did not have sufficient time with that document. So
I feel like we're at, what is it, Sesame Street, we're skipping over letter D today.
skipping letter D today.
Brought to you by letters A through,
A through H, no, letter D.
did you have something else?
No, that was my question.
Okay, our next meeting is the budget meeting.
Thursday, May 28th
6 p.m.
at 6 p.m.
Has everybody been contacted and responded to the email?
I am doing follow-up calls between today and tomorrow to make sure everybody has been notified before tomorrow at noon. Should give everybody a good 18-hour period before the meeting, so.
Not great about keeping my calendar current, and I had a budget meeting tonight and one on Thursday and then one on the 28th. I thought, okay, I'm confused about which is right, but now I know, not this week.
Not this week.
I would like to thank you for changing the date, because the rare case of I had a conflict. On Thursday evening is the annual Coast Guard Appreciation Dinner. And everybody's invited if you want to, you go online and find it. And I go to that every year. And it would have meant that I would have missed the peas and the chicken. And only gotten there in time for the speeches.
Happy to change it.
So yeah, so this is good. Anything else?
It's been good.
If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? In favor, none opposed. Thank you.